Good morning, good evening, namaste, hola, bonjour, geremeir, and maharapan. This is Namya, Joshi, your host for the day. Welcome to episode 62 of the podcast, Each One, Teach 10, An Amazing World of STEM, an inspiring venture where we'll be discussing that STEM is part of every day for every kid. We all will learn together how to build a STEM culture. Well, for today, my guest is Dr. Bron Stuckey, who is a global consultant specialist in gameplay, gamification, communities of practice, and learning communities. She has been engaged in educational community and gameful practices in learning development for the past 16 years. She is a global Minecraft mentor, is on the board of several educational game startups, and creator of the GameChanger Girls Esports Program. It's such an honor to have you here today, Dr. Bron. So how are you doing today?
I'm doing really well, and it's an honor to be here and to have been invited onto your podcast. I'm a big fangirl.
Oh, thank you so much. So how's the weather there?
The weather? Today's been really lovely. It's a cool autumn day in Sydney. And how about where you are?
I am in Ludhiana, Punjab, India. It's 37 degrees right now, pretty hot. It had rained heavily yesterday, but all of a sudden the weather is back to being really hot today.
And steamy.
Yep, exactly. Right, that's amazing to know. So we would love to know more about you and the work that you do. And what about some of the future projects that you're thinking about? So can you acquaint our audience with that?
With my background, I started as a classroom teacher, and then I worked in curriculum design and as a lecturer at university, and then became an independent consultant and designer and trainer. So my doctoral research was in communities of practice. And interestingly enough, that led me into understanding games and what the value of games in learning. It doesn't sound like it's an exact match-up, but it actually was, because when I was studying communities of learning and communities of practice, I started to see these communities that formed around games and people who were supporting each other to play a particular game they loved as fans of the game. And that really led me into an interesting space where the game was at the centre as the media, but the community sprang up around it. And as Jim G likes to call them, affinity spaces, and I started to delve into some of that. So I've been working in community development and in multiplayer games mostly. So it's not all kinds of games, but virtual worlds and multiplayer games are probably the thing that I find most exciting, because they do allow us to develop communities within them. And, that's kids or adults who are very remote from each other. There are no limitations in terms of location for those kinds of games. So that's really what excites me, and it's the kind of work I'm investing myself in these days.
That's amazing. You're working towards community development using games. And especially I totally agree with the point, community of people when they come together for having a love for a specific game. Because I've also experienced that in my own school, because, we all people, teenagers, we love to play games. And then we have the, excitement of talking about one and talking about the features of the game. So that's amazing that through the community, you can develop them through multiplayers and help them to become, united in a way through games.
Yeah, and games themselves you can use games as an intervention to teach young people about community, how to behave as a digital citizen, how to be part of a community, because that's all a lived experience. You only learn that by being out there, being in game communities, or playing games together and learning how to be kind to each other, and how to still be competitive if you're working in a competitive space, but do that in a kind and sociable way.
Absolutely. And talking about, games, I firmly believe in the power of game-based learning. And I'm aware that you have a countless case studies and best practices for integrating games into the classroom to enhance the engagement of students. And can you elaborate more about the work that you're doing like about this? Because I can't wait to listen to you about that.
Yeah, absolutely. The first game I worked on actually was with the Department of Education here in New South Wales, and it's like 20 years ago now, but it was called Murder Under the Microscope. And it was a game where the students as a whole class had to solve an eco-murder. So it was an eco-crime. An animal had died in the environment, and you had to work out what the cause was and where it happened. And it was a very complex set of things the kids had to understand. And we went to scientists to get the scenarios for the game each year, and they invariably said, this is too hard. Kids won't be able to do this. And, it's too scientific. And the very first year we ran it, the students who won it were a grade 5 class. So that's 10-year-olds who solved this problem scientists said was too hard for them. So one of my big rules, I think, about games and learning is games get young people to do very hard things. They motivate them to learn very hard things, to research topics, to get better. They're immersed in the environment and they want to do well. So in Murder Under the Microscope, the whole class had to play together. Everybody had a role in solving the murder. And so that was probably my biggest rule on using games in teaching and learning is don't dumb it down to kids. They don't want things to be dumbed down to them. So we use the technical science terms and all the rest. But I went from that to working with Indiana University and Quest Atlantis, which was a global virtual world game built originally with a National Science Foundation funding and then MacArthur funding and then Gates Foundation funding. And when I was working with it for about 8 years, we had 55,000 students around the world inside Quest Atlantis and their teachers. And we were in, I think, 45 countries. I trained personally 5,000 teachers in using that. And it was an eye-opener to many of those teachers how kids could be a community. And I'll give you an example that there was an earthquake and tsunami in Japan, and at one stage while we were using Quest Atlantis, and the kids who were in the world talking to each other from all around the world said, we feel really bad for the children of Japan. We want to do something to help let them know we care, we're thinking of them, and that we support them. And so in the world, they built a space for thinking and to come together where kids could leave inspirational messages for the kids who were in the world from Japan. And so that was all their own volition. No one asked them to do that. They thought, we want to do something about this. And so all the teachers involved supported them to help them get that done. And so they built this beautiful memorial space and just left loads of really lovely, thoughtful messages from children to children. So it was nothing they were told to do. And, that's just the stuff that makes my heart sing, because it just shows how much, we can develop community if we get out of the way of the students and give them a chance. So from Quest Atlantis at Indiana University and Arizona State University, I went on to work on a program called Massively Minecraft. 2 colleagues of mine asked me to come along and join them, and it was my first experience of using Minecraft, and that was way before it was Education Edition, so way back 11 or more years ago now. And it was an open community hosted by a colleague, Joanna Kay and Dean Groom. And kids from all over the world came in after school, wherever after school was from their part of the world, and hung out together. And there were children there from the age of 4 through to 16. And, some kids actually learnt to read in Minecraft, playing with the other learners in the space. And it was a hangout space. There were challenges for the students to do, but there was no curriculum. You didn't have to do anything. You could come in and just hang out with your friends. It was that sort of third place for kids to go that wasn't school and wasn't home. It was a place to be with their friends and play and design things in Minecraft. And then I moved on to Minecraft education, and that's really been at the forefront of a lot of work I've done with students in the last 10 years, because students took Minecraft to school. I found teachers saying to me, "What is this Minecraft? What is it all about? I keep hearing about it from children. What is it? Should I know more about this?" And all of a sudden, kids discovered that they had a sense of autonomy, what Ryan and Desi and the researchers call self-determination. So kids could choose their own things to do. They could gain skills and competencies, and they had relatedness to each other. So they had their community basis in the space. So that's proven to be a great motivator for children. And they knocked the doors down at school wanting to have Minecraft in their classrooms. And that's still happening today.
That's actually amazing that, it started with using a small game called Murder Under the Microscope, because like you mentioned about, scientists calling that too hard for kids, but the ones who solved them were actually fifth class graders. And so I actually believe this thing that, games for us is a stimulus and our logical thinking to solve them is the response. And like that's how it just gives us the ray of motivation that no matter how hard the problem is, because it's a game, it will give us the motivation to solve it. And then it's amazing like that you then went to Indiana University for the Global Virtual Game. And I really love the concept of the children who suffered from the tsunami in Japan, and then students made a game, a space for them to come together. And it was like just a message from children to children. And I totally agree that Minecraft, again, is a way when, we can come together, work together in different projects, collaborate, communicate. And that's, again, like you mentioned it, like developing the community as a whole. It's actually really amazing.
Yes, it's what excites me about virtual worlds and multiplayer games. So,
right.
And I think we don't give children and young people enough credit for what, they can create if we get out of their way.
Absolutely. And like, as you mentioned Minecraft, I totally love to play Minecraft as a game. Like I'm hooked on it almost every day. And I actually agree that it can be used for education purposes as well. So according to you, what makes Minecraft unique?
Well, as I said, I think it's because students have agency there. They can build to their own understandings. It's being picked up by education departments. So in Australia, I think it's every child in Australia has an account because it's been accepted as an educational tool. Now it's getting the teachers to understand better how it can be part of their classroom. It's a super engaging tool for children, but engagement isn't all we want. We want them to learn in the spaces, and we want them to extend their learning and enhance their learning through being in a virtual world. But doing their research, building environments, building solutions to problems, so recognising problems in the environment and then building the prototype of your solution in Minecraft is a fantastic task for children to do. And many teachers have realised this is a really good assessment task because children provide the evidence of what they've learnt in what they've designed and how they've found a solution to a problem. That kind of work is a lot of what I'm seeing teachers pick up at the moment in Minecraft. And some of the projects that have been built by the Minecraft community, spaces for social emotional learning, I'm seeing some really great use of those because children need to learn how to manage their emotions, to manage their feelings in physical spaces and in online spaces. So there's lots of really good work coming out of classrooms, teacher designed, Minecraft team designed, and companies are designing. I've just been working on a project for Victorian Health Department where they want children to learn about how to make environments healthier, more conducive to being a healthy human being. And they're doing that in Minecraft and getting the children to design the solutions. So that's a health department, which is usually a very conventional organisation, adopting Minecraft because they can see how it's getting children to think and apply their thinking in and look at consequences of actions. So, yeah, there's so much rich learning going on there. It really sparks the imagination of both teachers and students.
Absolutely. I actually cannot agree more with that because, it is very connected to my thoughts as well because I've been using it for a very long time for making lessons. And I totally agree with the point that it provides students their voice, choice, and agency. And it is just a way because being a student, I can relate to it too much because that has helped us to extend our own learning. Like you mentioned, it helps us to research, recognize the problems around the world because we can hear people speaking all the time. But when we understand how to actually work it out on the ground, I think that's how we can learn how to create solutions to the Minecraft by making the prototype inside Minecraft itself. And that's exactly what Minecraft build challenges are doing. And like every year we have the global Minecraft challenge, which is focused upon the environmental issues or certain issues that we're facing in the society. And that's where we are learning to how to think more and apply our thinking in a creative way. And I totally agree with the point of social emotional learning because the community worlds like in the library are also based on what we study in the classroom, but also on the skills that we require. And most importantly is to manage our emotions because that's what makes us a socially, emotionally aware individual. And that's how, like you mentioned, Minecraft helps to spark our learning and become good teachers as well because we can teach other people as well, how to use Minecraft and how you use it for the good for students and the classroom engagement.
Yes, once teachers see what's possible with Minecraft, it lights a fire in them as well. And,
Absolutely.
that's what we really need. I think the fire's already lit in all the students and young people. Now we need to light that fire in the teachers.
Exactly. I totally agree with that. And I feel like, your overriding drive to understand how games can support learning and cultivate community for learners, which is what brought you to research and adopt esports as a game changer for learning. So I want to ask you, according to you, can esports change learning?
Yes. Let me say first, when I first heard about esports, I was very skeptical. I couldn't see, people wanted this to be on the same level as playing netball or cricket or whatever in a school. And but I immersed myself in esports spaces. I listened to the people who were saying, who were experimenting with it. There's Steve Isaacs and people like Steve around the world who were doing work with esports, and they are all over the world. It's a movement that's sort of starting everywhere at the same time. And I started to realise that esports really it met a learning need for students that are underserved currently in our education system in some respects. Gaming does that, but esports is to the next level. And esports on all levels. It's not just about learning esports to be the best game player in the world and earn a lot of money, which is what a lot of people think it is. Esports actually has many, many more competencies that it brings to learning. So students learn teamwork, they learn leadership, they learn how to review their actions and strategize on things. They learn how to stay fit and healthy. That, no matter what sport, whether it's baseball or esports, you have to stay healthy to be a good sports person. So there are so many other learnings happening in esports. It's really very exciting space. And for me, I manage a group called for STEM specifically called GameChanger Girls Esports. And what we do a little differently to everyone else, it's for students aged 12 to 15, and it's for girls and girls' allies. The focus is on female because those are the years where STEM, it isn't cool to be good at STEM in those years for a lot of girls. And so we're trying to attract girls back into STEM activities with GameChanger Girls. So instead of playing someone else's game, the first year we had a discussion with girls about this, they said, we want to play games we designed. We want to play games other girls our age designed around the world. And so we started GameChanger Girls, where the girls design a game as a team in Minecraft. And then we, after the period of design, the girls post their games into our flip space, and we have a round of voting on which game we think will be the best esports game. And then we host our tournament around that game. So it's a game the girls designed, and we have our championship tournament around that game. But it's not just all about design. We have a community space. We have awards for best community members. We encourage the students to design their own skins and share them. They design the trophy for the competition. So it's very much the girls are in charge of what we do. And at the moment, we're running the first 2023 time trial in a world designed by some girls at St Clair's in Sydney. And it's called Sezam Arcade. It has 5 levels, gradually getting harder and harder. And we have about 15, 20 teams currently playing that game and recording their times. And then we'll move on. The top 4 teams will move on to play a game designed by Newlands Intermediate in New Zealand called Killer Cows. And so they have to go in and race 2 teams through a maze, avoiding a killer cow that's lurking in the maze. And so these are girls-designed games. It's a fantastic program for me. It really excites me. And the volunteer teachers who work with each of the girls' teams in their schools are fantastic because they recognise we've got to do more for girls in STEM. We've got to make STEM more interesting for girls. It's got to appeal to what girls want to do. And, and that's not to say girls won't join other esports programs because they will, but they won't be in the majority. And so we have to change the picture of esports so that it appeals more to girls. So that's what I'm trying to do. I also support a program out of Dell in Canada called Girls Who Game. And that's a really lovely program for we're using it for slightly younger students where they recognise a problem in the local area. There's a scenario set each time, and then they research it and they design a solution in Minecraft. And then they share a video walkthrough of their solution, and that's in a competition with Dell around the world. It's America, Canada, I think Jamaica and Australia now, and New Zealand. So it's a lovely program. And once again, the girls are in charge of what happens. It's not about the teacher is a facilitator on the side. The girls are making the decisions, and it really is the most exciting thing I think I've ever worked on. So.
That's I must say that's really persuading for girls to come forward, and I totally agree with that. You actually believe in esports can change learning, because like you mentioned, it's not just about earning money, but again, it's about the teamwork that actually pays off in the end. Because we learn how to review our actions, like you said, strategize, stay healthy. And I really love your work in the GameChanger Girls Esports, where you have aged 12 to 15 girls and girl allies, where the focus is upon STEM and girls who are designing games inside Minecraft. And then we choose the best game and the tournament for the game that is most upvoted. And again, that is focusing upon empowerment of girls to come forward in the STEM fields and making STEM more interesting for the girls. And totally, I agree with, changing the picture of esports, because we've always seen that being, a field that is male dominated. And what I've actually seen is that when we have girls playing games, you call it a girl gamer. But when it's boys, you just call it a gamer. So again, it has to be equal. A gamer is just a gamer.
Yeah, I collect pictures of esports, images of esports arenas and all of that. And the summary I would make of that for schools is it's a lot of white boys in a fluoro dungeon. I don't see a lot of diversity in the children that are in those images, and I don't see a lot of girls. And so I think the optics we have now tell girls, well, esports is probably not for you. It's a boys thing, because if you look at enough images of only boys, you start to think, okay, this is not for me. And so we need to break that stereotype in every way we can. We made our program Girls and Allies because there are boys who want to support girls in doing well, and there are students who are identify as girls, and we want to include everyone who would be involved, but we don't want boys to take over. And so one of our clubs, 4 boys asked if they could join, and after only one session, the girls threw them all out because they took over and started telling the girls how to do everything. And they said, no, we don't need you to come here and tell us how to do things. If you want to come here and be a worker in the team, that's good, but you're not going to be the leaders. And so that's why we've called it Girls and Allies. And I think that's really important because there are lots of people who want to support girls to do well.
That's amazing. So we're talking about, games. I'd like to ask you, what is your favorite game?
My favorite game?
Mm-hmm.
At the moment, it would have to be Minecraft because I can't see an end to it. I must admit, I love Among Us.
Same. I play it whenever possible.
Who doesn't want to be the sneaky one in the group?
Exactly.
I think, there's a lot of fun to be had in playing that. And I'm trying to get back into card games and tabletop games as well. So trying to remember that it's not all digital. Mm-hmm. I think that's an important point. And I know lots of teachers now are getting back into having, family games night and things like that. So there's a lot of really wonderful games coming out in the tabletop and card games, desktop games, etc. Mm-hmm. So I think, we have to remember it's not all digital.
Right. Like me too, I've played many games. Like Among Us, for me, I really love the hide and seek mode when one of them becomes the imposter who just have to kill people. And I've played many games like CSGO, COD, Asphalt, but again, my favorite game has always been Minecraft because that's the game where I can come and actually explore everything that I want and pour down my thoughts through a beautiful world that I want to create out of my imagination, be it on studies, be it on SDG goals, or be it just my imagination, this is my future. That's how I want the world to look like. So again, Minecraft is just where you can come and you can write your own book just through blocks.
It's amazing. I haven't found an end to the cool things we can do with it and the ways we can apply it.
Right.
And that's really important to me. I have to say, harking back to teachers don't know that the things they do make a difference. I was at a conference last year, Games for Change in Australia, and which is usually not about K-12 education. It's games in higher ed and others. But interestingly, a young man came up to me and said, you were the designer of Murder Under the Microscope, weren't you? And I said, yes. And he said, you know what? That's why I'm a game designer. Because when I was in year 5, I played Murder Under the Microscope and I just got so excited by what this game could do for learning that I made it my mission to become a game designer. And he now works for the military in Australia, designing games for the military. And that, you don't think sometimes what you're doing as an educator makes a difference, but things go full circle.
Absolutely. And that's amazing because, you're actually following your passion besides doing the things that you love to do as well. So that's amazing.
Yeah, yeah. And it was lovely to hear from him, and that, you light a spark in a student and a young person,
Right.
and that gives them, an entree into a new world of learning and a career. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Right. Like you mentioned about the GameChanger Girls Esports Program, and you're also a global Minecraft mentor and on the board of several education game startups. So can you let us know about how people can join this program and what people can learn from this program?
From Game Changer Girls?
Yes.
Yes, Game Changer Girls. Just go to gamechangergirls.net and you'll find the program, or email me, and I know my details are with the podcast. And I can tell you what we try to do with Game Changer Girls is you can join any time in the year. So you could join now while we're having our tournament. You could join when we start our next design round. You can join when we evaluate games and come in, and your team could come in and evaluate other girls' games. That's a great way to start designing your own if you evaluate some of the other games that have been designed by teams. So groups can come in at any time. It's we don't host a lot of live events. Most of the program is run through our Flip community for the students, so instructions are left there for them. And as I said, we try to make it so the teachers are really the ones just making a space for the students to meet, and then leaving the students to work on their design. And by the way, just to pick up on something you said about, being the imposter and killing people, lots of people think girls don't want to play PvP in Minecraft. And yet we always have lots of PvP designs in the program. So don't count girls out of being part of battles, because they want to be part of that as well.
I agree with that. Because I love to do that as well. Thank you so much for telling us about that. And honestly, today's podcast was very motivated for me, because again, it's about games and girls playing games, and especially about talking about Minecraft. So honestly, I've enjoyed talking to you so much today. Thank you so much, Dr. Bron, for being here on my podcast. Before we end, I would love to ask you where we can find you online. And I also want to ask you if you can give a lovely message from your side to the audience watching us right now.
Okay. Well, probably LinkedIn is the easiest place to find me. I'm on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter. I'm everywhere, I think, but LinkedIn is the most obvious place to find me these days, and to find out about any of the programs I've mentioned if you want to follow up on anything. I just taken a role as Mind in Residence at Questacon, which is our leading science educational museum in Australia, in Canberra. And that's really exciting because they developed a Minecraft program last year, which is really beautiful, the Cyber Castle. So I'd encourage people to go and look for that if you want to know more about it. It's about teaching cyber security using Minecraft. And a message, well, this message would go out probably to teachers to be open to Minecraft, but don't dumb down the task. Make sure you're asking a complex task, because kids can deal with it and they want to deal with it. They want to solve the hard problems the world's facing. And I think we can use Minecraft as a vehicle for doing that.
Absolutely, I cannot agree more with that. And I actually believe this thing, games and gamification both can lead to a high level of learning engagement, motivation. And actually, I've always believed, games can be used for situated learning, where a player can be placed in the simulation of a real world, and he or she can see how their actions are impacting other life over time. So that's again, when you learn skills from a game, you learn how to apply them in your real life as well.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bron, for coming on my podcast today. It was such a pleasure talking to you today. So hope you enjoyed being here too.
Oh, absolutely. I'm such a fangirl. So I was very honoured when you asked me if I wanted to be on your podcast. So yes,
thank you so much.
Very
it was
excited.
a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Keep up the great work.
Thank you so much. Pleasure is mine. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. And I'll see you in the next episode. Till then, each one, each 10. Have a nice day.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Thank you.